passed.
Members' motion with no legislative effect. Ms. Judy Chan's motion on improving the policy on encouraging childbirth. 3 members will move amendments to the motion. This Council will proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the amendments. Later, I will first call upon Ms. Judy Chan to speak and move the motion. Then I will call upon Ms. Nixie LAM, Mr. Michael LEUNG, and Mr. Kenneth LEUNG to speak in sequence, but they may not move the amendments at this stage. The joint debate now begins. Members who wish to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. I now call upon Ms. Judy Chan to speak and move the motion. Ms. Judy Chan. Thank you, President. Recently, the drop of fertility rate has become a trend in the world. There are surveys pointing out that if this trend continues, the human race will be encountering the most serious population drop since the Black Death. There will be a population decrease for the first time by the end of this century. Of course, the situation in some places may even be more serious. For example, in Hong Kong, according to the manpower projection or population survey 2 years ago conducted by the government, even with the talent attraction measures, a population will begin to start a structural decrease in 2046. Whether it is slowing down of growth of population or a drop in the population, they all bring about serious challenges to society. It will shrink our labor force. There will be fewer workers. The pace of the growth of the economy will slow down, and there will be fewer and fewer young people to support a growing elder population. It will pose a lot of stress on our welfare system, including retirement fund and healthcare services. But to address the challenges brought about by long-term population decline, many places have rolled out more and more measures to support women and family. Our country has also felt the pinch. Now, according to one of the amendments, the resolution of the Central Committee of the 3rd plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee, the resolution stipulates that we need to refine the policy system to boost the birth rate and strive to build a childbirth-friendly capacity. And then the State Council has issued a circular on several measures for accelerating childbirth for the implementation by provincial governments. Coming back to Hong Kong, this government has rolled out many measures to encourage childbirth. The attitude compared with the previous term of the government is much more proactive. When asked by council members concerning how childbirth can be encouraged, the last term of the government's position is that it's a decision to be made by the families themselves. All along, they have relied on attracting migrants to address the issue. Now, this term of the government is much more proactive. The government agrees that policy incentives is required to steer the direction. So I want to encourage the government to do more to promote childbirth. But I need to applaud the government for changing its position from non-interference to proactively encourage childbirth. As mentioned in my wordings, the government can actually do a few more things. There should be more clearer goals on the policy of encouraging childbirth. Now, I would like to share my views today to start a debate on how to encourage childbirth. In the long run, we can set a target figure for birth rate, say in 5 or 10 years' time. How high do we want our birth rate to be? Now, the full name of birth rate is total fertility rate. The figure reflects the number of children born by fertile women. Now, the replacement level is set as 2.1. That means that for every woman 2.1 children have to be born in order that our population will not drop because of natural factors. However, our fertility rate has remained very low for the past 30 years. It has hovered around 1.0. 2 years ago, it has even dropped to the lowest in the world, that is 0.7. In 2024, the figure has improved a bit to 0.8. But actually, the fertility rate in many advanced economies are low. These places mostly relied on immigrants to replenish the population. Now, realistically speaking, for Hong Kong's fertility rate to return to 2.1, it is not easy. It was back in 1979 when our fertility rate has reached the replacement level. That's almost 1.5 centuries ago. But we can strive towards a more pragmatic goal. For example, the ultra-low birth rate defined by the UN, that's 1.4 or below. Can the government set this as the target in the long run so that we can move away from places with ultra-low birth rates? Now, starting from the 20th century, many scholars have conducted research on how to enhance or encourage birth rates. Now, all the researchers point out that reducing the cost of childcare and expanding support for childcare would have a positive effect on birth rate. In Hong Kong, in terms of childcare, there are many areas we can improve. For example, standalone childcare centers. By the end of 2024, the number of quota was just 1,400, and only 14 districts out of the 18 districts have childcare centers. The usage rate is high at 80%. There are insufficient quotas. So the government has pledged that by the end of 2026, 600 more quota places in standalone CCCs will be provided. But given the overwhelming usage rate, I wonder if the increase is sufficient. Now, to encourage childbirth, the government should plan in advance to set a higher target for quota supply. And also, a target should be set that the usage rate can be reduced to a reasonable level, and CCCs should be set up in all 18 districts so there can be family-friendly measures in all districts. Now, there should be bolder measures in place. For example, in the suggestions submitted by the New People's Party for the policy address, we should learn from Hungary. For mother with 2 babies or 2 children, there should be full exemption on salary tax for a certain period of time that can show the government's determination to boost childbirth. Now, I mentioned the short, medium, and long-term goals for enhancing childbirth. Now, the core principle is to reduce the opportunity cost for women to re-enter the workforce after childbirth. That includes CCCs, quota places, and also exemption of salary tax. At this day and age, women are deeply involved in the workplace. Now, one of the major decisions behind childbirth is the impact of childbirth on their careers. As long as we can offer sufficient support for women to re-enter the workforce after childbirth, that would be very efficient in encouraging childbirth. Now, finally, I would like to make 2 short proposals. First of all, as mentioned in our proposal for the policy address, there are many women who have financial means but are not married. They would like to give birth later, and they would go overseas to receive fertility treatment. So under the existing legal framework, we should relax the restriction on women receiving fertility treatment so that more interested women can receive the treatment. That can also encourage the growth of the industry in Hong Kong. And also the newborn baby bonus at $20,000 we encourage that government roll out a progressive newborn baby bonus to encourage more childbirth. Thank you.
你動議你嘅議案。
好。
Ms. Chan, please move your motion. Mr. Deputy, I move my motion. Ms. Nixie LAM. Development of a place policy is related to its economic and societal development. If we are not going to be proactive to revert the dropping fertility rate, there will be a lot of problems. Currently, there are a number of measures, but they have not been effective. I think what matters is that they have to be targeted. 71.9% of respondents give up having child. 80% of them said that there is insufficient support. The survey data shows that 36% of youngsters would like to have children. Those between 19 and 29, the desire to have children dropped by 20%. We have high property prices, insufficient childcare places, and employment difficulties. All these are adverse factors affecting childbirth. We need government departments to work together to make improvements. If we are to tackle the problem at its roots, as I've said many times, we need to set up a task group headed by the Chief Secretary. Currently, when it comes to childbirth, it's under the purview of various departments under the CS4A. I asked an oral question last week, but the government said that they had no plans to set up this task force. They rely on coordination. There is the interface between allocation of flats and child service support. And there is very little interaction between the IRD when it comes to tax concession with other areas. We need a top-level coordinator to coordinate the different portfolios. We need to conduct studies before we can make a decision. We need to conduct a systematic study to look at the situation of modern marriage and childbearing. It's not just about a few researchers. We have to liaise with academics and survey organizations to find out what factors are affecting the desire to have children birth. Employment, financial pressure, changes in mentality. I've talked to some youngsters. It seems that the proportion of people cohabiting is a factor, but currently there is no survey. I hope that the census can cover this as well. We need to have a more sound foundation. We also need to have targeted goals. In the short term, we need to increase child service provision so that parents working will get the support they need. In work, we need family-friendly policies. A lot of enterprises are interested to put in place these measures because manpower is important. We also need to remove barriers stopping married mothers from rejoining the workforce. We need to foster a positive culture. We need support from different sectors for the policy to be successful. The government should put in place certification and incentives to encourage enterprises to adapt family-friendly measures. Certification system will enable enterprises to get recognition if they have supportive measures. We think that adjustments to policy should take into account the burden on enterprises. There should be sufficient discussions at the Labour Advisory Board. So there are some amendments that we do not support. If we do well on different areas, then we don't have to ask youngsters to make choices. I ask a standing task force to be set up. I speak in support of my amendment. Mr. Chung-hung. I speak in support of Ms. Judy Chan's original motion as well as the amendments. Having a child is an important decision. Having a child is not just about devoting time and finances. I think it's something to do with whether you get a chance to do it as well. I agree with Ms. Chan's motion that we need to start from lowering the opportunity cost for women. When you decide whether to have a child, you consider the opportunity cost. When mothers re-enter the workforce, they will consider what they need to give up. Say for example, there should be more opportunities for mothers. There should be promotion prospects, giving them time to spend with children. Well, for those re-entering the workforce, it's only 52.2%. It's lower than our neighboring areas, which is about 60%. The main reason for women leaving the workplace is that they have to take care of their children. If we are to address the issues of a low labor participation rate, we have to put in place family-friendly measures. I've made some suggestions in my amendment. For example, extending the maternity leave to 16 weeks. Currently, is 16, which is a shortfall from the 18 weeks suggested by International Labour Organization. There may be problems encountered by prospective mothers. There was a survey conducted by the Hong Kong University. They said that longer maternity leave will be conducive to the health of women, which in turn will bring benefits to the workforce. Well, there is no full pay at the moment. It's currently 4/5. Having a child is not an illness. We need to make improvements. There should be a postnatal employment protection period. A survey was conducted, and the findings is that, they are not up to speed after they return to work post maternity leave, but they have been discriminated against. The protection period refers to protection under which they will not be dismissed unreasonably. Women will be able to work to make a living. We also have to offer no-pay leave arrangements. Young children will need to spend time with their parents during their formative years, say between the age of 1 and 3. A lot of women said that they want to spend more time with their children, but they don't want to give up their jobs. Perhaps they can be run on a pilot basis. With employees with young children, there can be no-pay leave arrangements to release them. If we are to build a childbirth-friendly workplace, we need to remove a lot of barriers. We need to make the public understand that it is the joint responsibility of parents, not just that of the mother. We have to make it clear that it doesn't take a lot of financial means to have a child. We need to reduce the opportunity cost for women. We need to make it worry-free for them. We have to make it a family-friendly environment. We have to reduce the cost of enterprises. It's not about whose pocket it should come out from. It can come out from employers or the government. But what I want to say is that when a person chooses to become a mother is the greatest contribution. Reasonable birth rate is heavily related to a place's social development and economic development. We have to put in place sound policies to meet the important national strategy of building a policy system and mechanism for boosting birth rate. If we don't do our part, we'll have to pay a heavy cost. I so submit. Mr. Dennis LEUNG. I thank Ms. Judy Chen for moving the motion on improving the policy on encouraging childbirth. This is an important issue. It gives us a chance to have a discussion. It's not just about the place. It's about the sustainability of a place. Dropping fertility is a problem faced by many places. According to a UN survey, it says that the birth rate is dropping for a number of places. They appeal to different countries that they should put in place various measures. Our country has announced dozens of measures to encourage childbirth. It includes strengthening the childbirth as service system. There should be family-friendly workplace and environment created. All these are of high reference value. I have incorporated some of them in my amendment to improve the population policy. This term of government is more active compared to previous ones. In 2023, there was the offer of a $20,000 baby bonus. For families with a newborn child, there is a priority scheme for them. The overall fertility rate has increased from 0.701 in 2021 to 0.841 in 2024. It's still some shortfall from the replacement level, but it's an improvement. I have made some suggestions in my amendment, say for example, to alleviate the financial burden of families with children. The child allowance can be progressive to encourage childbirth. In addition to money, you need time. That's why I talked about sufficient support for child care, especially for children between the age of 0 and 4. You need to give them the assurance that they don't have to worry after having a child when they return to work. You need to give support to parents. Well, there are surveys showing that people are getting married later. In 2024, the median age of marriage is 31 for women. For those between 25 and 39, 57% of them are single. We have to make plans. We have to create a favorable environment for people to get married and have children. We have to give youngsters plenty of opportunities to meet people and date and get married. Ms. Nixie LAM talks about a standing task force led by Secretary of Department to coordinate a population policy. I agree with that. If we are to have a balanced population development, we need policies. Fertility rate and other areas are important aspects of the policy. We want to have a dedicated task force. In relation to the amendment of Mr. Look, I support the extension of the statutory maternity leave. However, I have some reservations in relation to the postnatal employment protection period. Under the sex discrimination ordinance, there are already provisions saying that it is an offense to unreasonably dismiss someone because of their family, because of their status. That already covers women being dismissed after they've given birth to a child. A protection period is not the ideal. Enhancing the work of the EOC Equal Opportunities Commission is better. Everyone's different when they decide whether to have a child. The government has the duty to enhance the sense of happiness. I think they have the duty to create a better environment to boost fertility rates so that there will be a balanced population growth. I so submit. I ask members to support my amendment.
局長。
Secretary for Labor and Welfare. President, I thank Ms. Judy Chan for moving the motion on improving the policy on encouraging childbirth, Ms. Nixie LAM, Mr. Chung-hung, and Mr. Dennis LEUNG for moving their amendments so that we can speak and exchange views on this matter. The government will listen carefully to members' suggestions. The decline in fertility rate is a fact faced by many countries or places. In face of this situation, various government bureaus and departments have been actively planning measures to boost fertility rate. In this connection, the chief executive announced in his 2023 policy address a series of pro-natalist policies to create a child-friendly environment. These measures include the introduction of a newborn baby bonus, priority flag selection for families with newborn, enhanced child care support, and increased tax concessions. The offices or bureaus responsible for implementing the measures include the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration, Education Bureau, Housing Bureau, Health Bureau, Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, Labor and Welfare Bureau, and the Financial and the Treasury Bureau. Upon consulting various policy bureaus and departments, I'd like to briefly go over the government's policies and measures in this area. First, newborn baby bonus. To encourage childbearing, it was announced in the 2023 policy address that a cash bonus of $20,000 would be offered to eligible parents for each baby born from the 25th of October 2023 onwards for a period of 3 years. Second, on support for working families and childcare, I believe that members and the community are also very concerned about the adequacy of childcare services. The government has been subsidizing NGOs in providing a wide range of daycare services for children to support parents who are in need of respite services. We have, for example, Child Care Center for children aged between 0 and 3, after-school care services, and Neighborhood Support Child Care Project. This is what we call Community Nannies Project. To strengthen support for working families, the government is increasing the number of subvented standalone childcare centers and places under the Neighborhood Support Childcare Project, as well as expanding the after-school care services for preschool students across the territory in order to better meet the needs of working families and to help parents plan for childbearing without having to worry about any future problems when they are working. The government has also launched the after-school care program, which focuses on supporting primary school students in need, especially those from single-parent families, to receive care and learning support after school, thus allowing parents to work. In addition, the Working Families Allowance Scheme supports working families with low income and not receiving comprehensive Social Security assistance by encouraging full-time work and self-reliance, so that these parents can work full-time. And the scheme offers child allowance to households with eligible children. On support for employees, the government is committed to encouraging enterprises to adopt employee-oriented management practices, including the implementation of family-friendly employment practices to help employees take care of their family needs. The Labor Department proposed this message through various channels, including the organization of a number of good employer charter activities. The existing employment ordinance has already provided maternity protection for pregnant employees, including paid maternity leave, sickness allowance for antenatal checkups or postnatal treatment, and job security, so as to protect employees from dismissal during pregnancy and maternity leave. In addition, the government has been encouraging employers to provide flexible work arrangements for their employees having regard to their own circumstances so as to meet the family needs of their employees and assist them in balancing work and family responsibilities. Apart from these said measures, various bureaus and departments have been actively taking forward relevant work in their respective portfolios, including the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, which has all along been supporting the work of the Family Council and promoting various publicity programs to promote the culture of caring for the family among the community. In respect of tax measures, the basic allowance for a child and the additional child allowance in their year of birth have been increased to $130,000 starting from the year of assessment 2023-24. On the housing front, the Hong Kong Housing Authority has launched the Families with Newborn Allocation Priority Scheme and the Families with Newborn Fast Selection priority scheme to incentivize family applicants for public rental housing and subsidize sale flat to have children. Regarding healthcare, the Health Bureau has all along been committed to providing and supporting assisted reproduction services to help people who wish to have children. On the education front, the government has also implemented the kindergarten education scheme to provide affordable and quality kindergarten education and to enhance children's access to different modes of education according to their needs. President, I've just given a brief account of the measures taken by the government to encourage childbirth in the hope of creating an environment conducive to child rearing on various fronts. The government is aware that members are very concerned about the relevant issues. We'll continue to work on it with a view to encouraging more families to give birth and create a social atmosphere conducive to childbearing. I will listen carefully to members' speeches and then respond in detail to their views in my concluding remarks. Thank you, President.
Mr. Jesse Chang. Thank you, Deputy President. Hong Kong's birth rate has remained low. It is just 0.7 birth per woman now in Hong Kong, much lower than the replacement level of 2.1. It shows that in the future we will have a shrinking labor force. Aging population will bring challenges to families. It will also hinder growth of the city. Now, despite the various measures launched by this term of the government, there is still a major gap between the reality and the target. Government departments have rolled out family-friendly employment measures. But to offer true support to families with child, we need to offer real help. Now, to turn around the situation, I support the motion moved by Ms. Judy Chen. The government should formulate aggressive short, medium, and long-term goals for childbirth and make Hong Kong an example of family-friendly city by reducing the opportunity cost for women. Now, for families with working parents, they have difficulties finding suitable childcare support, so more quotas in CCCs can address this urgent need. Parents should be offered childcare service quota with no waiting time. There should be more choice to after-work childcare as well. The government should implement a pilot scheme together with the business sector to offer 3 months salary subsidy after childbirth, for example, 50% of the salary. This will lower the financial burden on SME employers with government subsidy. This can address the pain points in earnest. Now, we need medium and long-term measures as well. We need to restructure this issue from the cultural perspective. For example, flexi work arrangement. Now, with flexi work arrangement, mother can make plans for the time more efficiently to balance between childcare and work. Now, non-profit childcare organizations should be given more support. The quality of their services should be enhanced to encourage more families using their services. There should also be more childcare leaves for fathers as well. Fathers should be encouraged to share the burden in child rearing so that the mothers can be freed up to rejoin the labor force. There should also be large-scale childcare facilities in shopping malls. Nursery rooms and childcare rooms should be established in major shopping malls. Now, that may not be much, but that is at least a first step that can alleviate the pressure on mothers and SMEs as well. Now, we need to involve the entire society to encourage childbirth. Now, I suggest a bold measure, that is childbirth vacation. Now, for every mother with at least one child, there should be at least one additional leave day. That shows how much we respect mothers. Now, childbirth policy is not just about financial allocations. It is an investment in our future. Only by collaboration between the government, the business sector, and the communities can we make Hong Kong not just a prosperous metropolitan, but also a family-friendly city where families can grow happily and young people can thrive. Now, before I speak, I have asked the opinions of many mothers. They said that the government would consider implementing a progressive child tax allowance exponentially with every childbirth. That can really encourage childbirth. I so submit I support the original motion and the amendments. Professor Charman Kong. Deputy President, I speak in support of the motion moved by Ms. Judy Chan. Concerning population policy and childbirth encouragement, these are topics that we attach much importance to. Childbirth is important. It relates to future manpower supply and industry growth, and also whether conventional family values can sustain, and even the sustainability of our nation. Fertility rate is low in Hong Kong. We need to discuss this topic seriously. Otherwise, there will be no next generation in Hong Kong, and they will pose more pressure on the previous generation. Now, the major obstacles are insecurity, especially childcare. Parents have to care for their children all their life. It is a tough decision to make. It relates to every segment of life. There are lots of worries every step of the way. So I just suggest the government to enhance childbirth policy from accommodation, education, and other aspects. First, financial incentives. Now, the newborn baby bonus of $20,000, that's not enough. The government should consider extending the double child allowance to the first 3 years after birth. Now, even for the highest bracket of salary tax, the child tax allowance were just equivalent to $20,000 each year. Now, the first 3 years after childbirth are the toughest, so we need to give the families the most support during that period. Insecurity is serious in Hong Kong. In particular, accommodation. Flats are small and there are lots of childcare issues. These insecurities make young couples hesitant when considering having child. Now, in terms of pro-birth policies, besides launching the Families with Newborns Flag Selection Priority Scheme and Newborn Allocation Priority Scheme in PRH estates, we have to do more. In 2023, the government has accepted members, including my political party, G19, to extend the measure. Now, last year, there were 4,300 transactions in the second-hand subsidized sales flags market. It was the first time since 2024 when the number has exceeded 4,000. Now, families with babies usually have to move to a larger accommodation. So we should encourage flags for flags exchange scheme, especially for elderly people. Now, if you are selling your SS app for the second time, you don't enjoy this discount. So we should encourage elderly people to exchange the flags for smaller flags in exchange for a cash allowance or a rental discount, so that young couples can move to larger flags to plan for a bigger families. Now, I've also proposed a tax allowance for expenditure on hiring foreign domestic helpers. Now, many families employing foreign domestic helpers to help take care of their children. But there are serious concerns over the quality of services of FDH. Now, this is a policy matter. After giving birth, mothers would naturally want to give the best care to their babies, but many families in Hong Kong have both parents working. So many FDH are charged with the babies. Now, because of the poor quality of employment agencies, it is very difficult to find a helper which can really help, and also it costs a lot to employ a FDH. Now, I ask the government to step up enforcement to investigate unscrupulous employment agency which encourage FDH to job hop. Now, I hope every family can hire a good foreign domestic helper so that your child can be in safe hands. Mr. Lam Chen-sing. Thank you, Deputy President. 10 years ago, the government considered childbirth a personal matter and refused to interfere. Now, this time of the government has changed that mindset. There is newborn baby bonus and also allocation of flagged priority schemes. Now, for the past 2 years, the number of births has increased. Of course, we can't show that there is a causal link between the two, but with policy measures, it is always better. It shows the government's determination to encourage childbirth, rather than taking a passive stance to rely on immigrants to lower the mean age in Hong Kong. Now, in the mainland, there is also a reduction in fertility rate, so we can't rely on the mainland to solve all of our questions. Now, we need to encourage local birth rate. It is difficult to set a KPI because there are a lot of factors affecting childbirth decision, including personal backgrounds. So even if we cannot set a KPI, we can set some realistic targets. For example, returning the number of births to 45,000 to 50,000 per year, or establishing a commissioner for childbirth or an office for childbirth, as Ms. Nixie LAM has suggested. That would help to cultivate an atmosphere of childbirth in the city. Now, Ms. Judy Chan mentioned that we need to reduce the opportunity cost for women to re-enter the workforce. In 2024, after-birth women, their labor participation rate is just 60%, much lower than women with no children. Now, we need to extend the 3-day childcare leaves for civil servants to all workplaces. There should also be flexi arrangements for all employees. The government should subsidize the salaries of the first few months after giving birth. And for the second child onwards, child allowance should increase exponentially. The deduction period should be extended to 2 financial years after childbirth. The subsidies for childcare center services should be enhanced as well. Now, by extending the maternity leave to 14 weeks with government subsidy, the government's plan to spend $400 million to subsidize the private sector. But 4 years on, only half of the fund has been spent, so there's room for increasing the subsidy. Now, in some European countries, both couples will be given a total number of leave days, and the couples can decide to spend the leave days flexibly. Now, in the long run, we can consider this model. Finally, I support the amendments moved by Mr. Michael Look. I understand that some members have different views, but that's fine, because Ms. Judy Chan's motion is about improving the policy on encouraging childbirth. I don't want to see this debate turns into a debate on whether we should have one more holiday and turn this into a debate between employer and employee, a labor dispute. So the message should be the entire society should participate in encouraging childbirth. And without affecting the operation of the company, employers should offer as much accommodation in terms of work arrangements as possible. The government should also offer more financial resources to help employers. Let's make Hong Kong a family-friendly city. Thank you.
Dr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Many developed economies are faced with low fertility rate coupled with aging population. It will undermine our economic development. The fertility rate of Hong Kong remains low in recent years. Our total fertility rate is just 0.4841, which is far lower than the replenishment rate of 2.1. This will affect the structure of our workforce and our development. There are many reasons to it. Many people get married late. They are stressed at their work. There is inflation and small living places. Many have different reasons for why they don't give birth. There are also deep-rooted social problems that we are faced with. So I support improving the policy on encouraging childbirth by rolling out more measures and incentives to encourage people to give birth. Around the globe, many advanced economies have launched policies and measures to encourage childbirth. They cover providing tax and economic incentives for the people, providing statutory leave, encouraging employers to provide flexible working hours, and providing childcare services. The Singaporean policies are the most famous and effective in Asia. In the 1970s, many women came out to work in Singapore, and that resulted in low fertility rate. As a result, the Singaporean government rolled out many child-rearing friendly measures. They rolled out newborn baby bonus, and they give tax concessions for parents and salary deductions for salary tax. They also offer statutory leaves for mothers. And starting from 2008, working mothers enjoy a paid leave of 16 weeks. And starting from 2017, fathers enjoy 2 weeks of paid paternity leave. Singaporean parents, before their children reach the age of 7, they can take 6 days of childcare leaves. For parents with children aged below 2, every year, they enjoy 6 days of unpaid leaves. By expanding family-friendly measures, we can encourage childbirth. Say, for example, Japanese government, apart from providing maternity leave and paternity leave, they've stepped up provision of childcare services. For metropolis, where more women work, starting from 2013 to 19, daycare places increased by 19%. Starting from 2019, they have facilities offering preschool childcare services for children aged between 3 and 5. For low-income families, they offer free-of-charge daycare services as well. Housing problem is one of the reasons why people don't give birth. The Singaporean government offer priorities scheme for parents and couples who want to give birth. Parents with children will have priority to purchase subsidized sale flat. For families with 3 children, they can be accorded priority in the purchase of subsidized sale flat. For couples who want to get married within 3 months, they will also be accorded priority. We have limited housing supply, so it's difficult for us to make use of these resources to encourage child birth. I asked the government to improve the public rental housing allocation scheme. I'm glad that the government has taken on board my suggestions. I hope that the administration will continue to improve this measure to encourage childbirth. As we encourage people to have children, we have to roll out a basket of factors to enhance the fertility rate. I fully support this motion. Thank you. Dr. Tan Yue-hun. Thank you, President. We have a population issue. We have the longest lifespan and we have the lowest fertility. This has brought about a structural demographic problem, and this will lower our productivity. This reminds us that we have to address this issue of low fertility rate in order to maintain our competitiveness. So I speak in support of Ms. Judy Chan's motion. I do think that we have to improve our policy on encouraging childbirth through combination punches. We have to support the balanced development of our population. I have a few suggestions. First, the government have to give up on the non-intervention policy. All along, the government stress that it's people's decision whether or not to have children. That's why they should not intervene. As a result, we don't have many policies and measures to encourage childbirth. We should not just rely on incentives because that's not cost effective. However, at the same time, we have to proactively formulate population policies in order for us to increase the fertility rate. This will alleviate people's burden and create a society that is childbearing and rearing friendly. Second, in 2023, the government launched the newborn baby bonus and the families with newborns allocation priority scheme and selection priority scheme. These schemes and measures receive good response. Although these will not address the deep-rooted issues and reasons behind the low fertility rate, this will send a message that the government supports child rearing in Hong Kong. When the fiscal position of the government improves, the administration should consider increasing the amount of baby bonus. Say, for example, I think that we should further relax the criteria and eligibility for families with newborns allocation priority scheme. We should shorten the waiting time for families with newborn for allocation of public rental housing so that young couples can assess their capabilities better before they decide whether or not to have children. Second, we should provide a child-friendly environment in society. We should not just depend on cash incentives. The government should promote a positive message of childbirth and childbearing. We should increase number of childcare leaves, increase the service places for daycare centers. For women who work and families with working parents, we should offer comprehensive childcare services so that they will be willing to give birth to children. Most kindergartens offer half-day service. I think that this is not good enough. I hope that the government will provide subsidies for full-day kindergarten services. Also, I think that we have to formulate youth policies to improve the working environment and job stability of young people. When people have confidence in their job security, and they will be more willing to have children. Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you. I speak in support of Ms. Judy Chan's motion, and I thank the other members for moving their amendments. Our total fertility rate is far lower than our population replenishment rate, and it is lower than the alarming level set by the United Nations. Although the government have rolled out many measures, they are still not enough. So I'm glad that we have this opportunity today to look into what's gone wrong. The policies and measures are not as effective. Perhaps that's due to misunderstanding of the issues. We rely on cash incentives of, say, $20,000, tax concessions. We have not touched on gender equality, working environment, and issues as such. Housing account for more than 40% of the expenditure of a family. Child-rearing problem is not just about finances. We have to address other issues faced by families who are not willing to have children. The residential area of Hong Kong families is just half of the top-tier cities on the mainland. In Kowloon Tong, Sham Shui Po, many people and families live in a flat of 300 square feet. This undermines people's willingness to have children. Many people also are faced with stress as they work, starting from 2020. We have increased our maternity leave to 14 weeks. However, the mothers are just paid 80% of their salary. For Singapore and France, their maternity leave is as long as 16 weeks. For the first and second children, the employers have to pay 100% of the salary. For UK, the maternity leave lasts 1 year, including 26 weeks of normal maternity leave and 26 extra maternity leave. For 39 weeks, the mother will be able to enjoy statutory pay, and during maternity leave, the pay will be protected and they can apply for flexible working arrangements. In 2012, the mainland increased the maternity leaves to 14 weeks and offer 100% pay for the mothers. Many employers extend the maternity leave for their employees, but compared to the policies of other places, it seems that we are still lagging behind. If our maternity leave policy is so conservative, we cannot really solve the problem. We also have to look into the immigration policy. We have not been encouraging people to integrate into society after they move here. For Canada, they accord points to potential immigrants according to their education background, their family, so on and so forth. I think that we can create a tracking mechanism for new immigrants to see how they integrate into Hong Kong, to encourage them to stay here for good. At the same time, the government should consider publishing a white paper on women labor participation rate and immigrants retention rate every 2 years. For childbirth policy is never a standalone issue. We have to solve this problem by improving our labor and welfare policies, healthcare policies, so on and so forth. I think that we should create a system to encourage childbirth. When young couples don't have to worry about the living space, then we can solve this problem, and we will then have the foundation to encourage childbirth. Thank you.
Mr. Martin Liu. Madam Deputy, population policy affects the overall development of a place. The young generation has a different attitude towards marriage and childbirth. As a number of members have mentioned, in 2024, the total fertility rate was 0.841, which is far below the replacement rate of 1. In Japan, South Korea, and the mainland, they have stepped up policies to provide support to boost birth rate. We should do the same. We need to have a targeted approach focusing on areas with a huge demand. We need to provide systematic support. Having a child is an important decision in life. You consider different factors. Well, we have high cost in life, housing, healthcare, education. There are also other factors, say for example, time cost and opportunity cost, and the cost in the form of your career. Time has changed. Women now are economically active. When they are advancing their career, they will have to give up childbirth. For career women, they may postpone the plan to have children. According to a CNSD survey in 2023, the median age of women is 39 for having children, and for getting married 31. The young generation think that if they don't have time, they will not have children because they cannot provide the best for their children. In 2023 policy address, the government launched a number of measures to boost birth rate. There is the newborn allocation priority scheme. There is the expansion of after-school childcare service to the entire territory. But there is still shortage in supply. I asked the government to make good use of idle and vacant sites and vacant premises to increase childcare service. There should be a rationalization of allocation of places to meet demand of different districts. Schools should be encouraged to participate in the school-based after-school care service scheme so that parents can go to work without having to worry about their children. There should be child family measures in workplace. Over 85% of the respondents of a survey said that there is not much family-friendly measures in the workplace. Some haven't even heard about this. I think there should be a certification system to encourage more enterprises to participate in something, say, a charter. There can be tax concessions to incentivize enterprises to introduce work from home or flexible work hours. Enterprises need to draw reference from maternity leave practice from the government. I speak in support of the motion. Thank you. Mr. Chen Wing-Kwong, I speak in support of the motion and the amendments. We have a low birth rate. It's not just us, and it's not just one problem. It's about our competitiveness, the vitality of our society, and future development. Our fertility rate has been hovering at a low level. It's dropped from 1.196 in 2015 to 0.841 last year. It's dropped by about 30%. There is urgency. We need to be more determined. We need to put in place a systematic approach to tackle the challenge. There is a high cost to rear a child. It's pricey to provide education. It's a heavy burden to families. There is keen competition. All these are worrying factors for families. Work hours is long, work is intense. It's very difficult for them to take care of their family. There is a small living space. Families have to take care of their parents as well. Well, there are different constraints as well. When you age, your fertility will drop. All these factors affect the decision to have children. I think the government should foster better sense of security and happiness. Having a child is one thing, rearing a child is another. We need to provide assistance to families who want to have a child. Well, there has been deliverables from research in Chinese medicine that it works. At the end of this year, there will be the first Chinese hospital in Hong Kong. One of the subdisciplines is infertility, as well as postnatal treatment. I think the government needs to make use of the advantage of Chinese medicine to use it as an assistance. Chinese medicine can be provided to those who are in need. There can be enhanced collaboration between Chinese and Western medicine. It can be used in assistive reproductive service. Young people may not want to have children because they find it difficult to bring up a child. There should be consolidation of resources. There should be better coordination. Say, in terms of education, resources should be optimally allocated. There should be a culture of child friendliness. The standard of living should be improved so that one can lead a decent life. There needs to be active promotion of flexible work hours. In terms of incentives, there can be tax concessions. There should be a wider scope of tax concessions. There should be a top-level planning. We need a more focused approach to tackle the challenges. A low fertility rate is an essential issue. We need to have a comprehensive policy. We need to have an array of measures in place so that we can make it easier for people to have a child, so that we can create a favorable environment. Ms. Chen Hao-yen, people are getting more reluctant when it comes to having a child. Our fertility rate is very low. Every woman will give birth to 0.37 child. In 2023, about 43.2% of women have never given birth to a child. In 2017, it was 20.6%. The figures show that women don't want to have children. It also tells us that there may be a gap in our population demography in the future. There are a number of factors at play. Living environment, education, employment, population policy are all involved. We first need to understand why families don't want to have children. You always worry for your child. But in the past, there are some families who think that you can leave your children to grow up on their own. But now it's different. The responsibility has grown bigger. There is pressure from everywhere. If there is pressure, how do you expect to have children? The prime pressure comes from education. According to a survey, it shows that 58% of the respondents give up having children because of education in Hong Kong. You have to send your children to tuition classes, hobby classes. It's a bottomless pit. A lot of people think that having a child is to have an enormous pressure. Parents are people are more cautious when it comes to having a child. Our education system focuses on academic performance. The focus is on examination. It creates pressure to children and parents. I've been advocating vocational and professional education. There should be multiple pathways instead of focusing on just the academic performance. There should also be life planning for young children to find their path in life. I want to talk about difficulties faced by women. You have to choose either to have a child or a career. Women nowadays are highly educated. They have plenty of opportunities in work. But you have to make a choice between having a child and fighting for your career because the period overlaps. A lot of people have missed the opportunity to have a child because they're working on their career. There are measures from the government, say for example, newborn baby bonus, allocation priority schemes, as well as increased tax incentives. The government needs to be more proactive to promote family-friendly policies. Males can also take a bigger role. The government is the largest employer in Hong Kong. They can take the lead to offer paid paternity leave or child care leave. In a lot of advanced economies, UK, Japan, Sweden, they have a longer paternity leave. In the UK, there is a 2-week paid paternity leave. In Sweden, there is a 480 child care leave for both parents, where you don't have to worry about your work, worry about your education. When your husband helps, then you understand that having a child is not just a sacrifice. We need policy bureaus to work together to remove barriers so that Hong Kong can become a city of hope.
Mr. Asian Ho. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Judy Chan for moving today's motion. Now, it seems that the motion is reminding myself to have a child. Now, actually, my number was 3 during the by-election. In Cantonese, that means giving birth. And I'm also staying on the 13th floor in the electrical complex. But that's enough about me. Today we are talking about improving the policy on encouraging childbirth. Now, the government has done a lot. For example, $600 million has been spent on families on newborn baby bonuses. The New People's Party has submitted a lot of proposals on childbirth for the upcoming policy address. Many people would like to have children. They are just afraid to do so. There are 3 obstacles. 1, nano flags. 2, education anxiety. 3, time concern. Now, we have to overcome these 3 obstacles to give birth. Now, besides policy measures, I would like to focus on support given to parents. Now, time is limited. Everyone is competing against time. We are focusing on competition and success, but there is very little focus on nurturing someone to be a caring person and to share love. Second, living a modern life is complicated. Now, despite the policy support given by the government, there are still a lot of realistic concerns in daily life. If the policy measures cannot help families overcome the daily struggle, then it is not effective. 3, despite financial resources, parents need to spend time to care for and love their children. So we need to have some soft touch support for parents. 1, we need to help families to be harmonious. Now, children are supposed to be the bonding agent of families, but we need material support to make that vision realized. Now, second, there is this saying that families are the shelters of people. So in turn, the government should be the shelter for families by providing childcare centers. 3, we need to change the culture. Child rearing is not just the duty of mother. Everyone in the family and everyone in society should help. Now we need to put less focus on success, but rather on love and care. In a society full of competition, we need to have the courage to choose love and care. Now, amidst competition, we need to still keep the tenderness in our heart. We need to keep an open mind while pursuing success. Remember, we need to keep our hearts open. The government's policy should be the same. Rather than forcing couples to have children, conditions must be created to encourage childbirth. Rather than cash, we need to create the conditions for parents to have time to spend on child care. We need to maintain an open mind in policy setting. That will make our childbirth policy have warmth. Let's make our society more inclusive. Thank you. Ms. Eunice Yeung. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Judy Chan for moving the original motion. Now, having listened to Mr. Adrian Hall's speech, it makes me think that childbirth is a very poetic and hopeful thing. We can give birth with joy. So Secretary is setting a LEUNG here. It is not a boring thing. Other departments and bureaus should participate in formulating childbirth policies. Many members have spoken on how we can provide more policy measures on education and childcare. Rather than working alone, the Secretary should engage other bureaus to set a childcare policy. Now, I always wonder to whom my proposal should be submitted: the Secretary for Labour or Welfare, or the Secretary for Education, or other government officials. The Secretary for Labour and Welfare is responsible for population and labour policy. It seems that childbearing is not under the Secretary's purview. Well, other bureaus, like Health Bureau, can help. Like Professor Chen Wing-kwong said, Chinese medicine can step in here to support fertility services. So whether it is population policy, labour policy, or fertility treatment, everyone should pitch in. Now we understand why women are reluctant to have babies, because they have to care for the babies themselves. Now we need to have a rethink on our carers policy. Our parents, grandparents, most of them are willing to pitch in to help rearing a child. So without government policies, families heavily depend upon family members to care for their children. Well, foreign domestic helpers, finding a quality foreign domestic helper is like winning a Mark 6 lucky draw. So I think it is necessary to increase the quota places in childcare centers. But when we are still heavily relying on grandparents and our family members to care for our babies, should we give more encouragements or incentives to grandparents? Now take public library as an example. There's new activities every week for young children to join. It really makes young children enthusiastic about going to the library. My children are very eager to go to the library in Happy Valley because there is a playroom there. So this motion is about providing help to women after birth and lower the opportunity cost for them to re-enter the workforce. Or after giving birth, the child won't be independent until the age of 15 or 16, so we need to give more help to parents. Now, education is another matter. Now, like Ms. Rebecca Chen said, starting from the age of 2, children need to receive education. So it would be better if we have a full trained school placement for child, but that's not very easy. So for grassroots families or even the middle class families, they can't afford putting their children in a private school because it costs tens of thousands of dollars per month. Now for public schools, the homework pressure is heavy. So some parents are struggling between private school or public schools. Now from the perspective of a working parent, of course, we would prefer a school with less homework. So I thank Ms. Judy Chen for moving this motion so that we can voice our pressure. Mr. Sunny Tang. Thank you, President. The trend of aging population is worrying. If we can't arrest the trend rapidly, in 11 years' time, by 2036, the mean age in Hong Kong will increase to 52.7. The shrinking labor force will impede our pace of economic recovery. So encouraging childbirth is an important topic. This term of the government has been very proactive in encouraging childbirth. I support the government's policies. I propose several measures to further enhance our childbirth policies. First of all, we should start with positive thinking and also enhancing conventional family values of the Chinese culture. Having a big family is a characteristic in the Chinese culture. When parents age, they will be cared for by their children or even grandchildren. It is a very happy scene. So I hope that the government can be positive and inculcate this kind of positive thinking in society. Rearing a child may not need as much as $4 million to $6 million, so we shouldn't be exceedingly worried. In terms of incentives, there should be more policy incentives and support for child care. Now, when giving birth to the second child, many of the products, for example, baby buggy or baby bed, can be reused. So I hope the government can offer a progressive child allowance to encourage more birth in families. Now let's look at the example of Seoul in South Korea. For those with two or more children, a happiness card would be issued to the families. Children can visit museums and other public utilities for free, and also there would be a transportation allowance for children before they graduate from secondary school. Now, 3, we need to adopt a multi-pronged approach to encourage postnatal women to re-enter the workforce. Now, according to the need of the mothers, they should be arranged to work in workplaces near them. 4th, we need to expand the provision of assisted reproductive services and also the tax allowances. Quota places in public hospitals should be enhanced to create a pro-birth environment. 5. We should encourage more talents and their families to come to Hong Kong. That would be a focal point of our future population policy. So we need to strive proactively to attract more families from the Southeast Asian region to study in Hong Kong. Now, with support including accommodation, healthcare, and education, we can encourage these students to start a family in Hong Kong. This will consolidate Hong Kong's position as a diversified metropolitan. Now, the government should continue on this proactive path to formulate more pro-child measures to build a better future for Hong Kong.
Mr. Ngam and Yu, President, recently the government have rolled out many policies to encourage childbirth. In 2024, our total fertility rate went up to 8.41. However, given the aging population, our working force went to 3.41 million in 2024. There are also economic, healthcare, and social welfare implications because of our low fertility rate. We have to address the worries that people have in having children. Time, efforts, and commitments are involved in having a children. According to a DBAB study, 1/4 of the respondents think that they will not be having any children. 1/3 of the women respondents are with high academic background. They said that because of heavy commitment, responsibilities, aspiration for freedom, housing problems, they don't want to have children. So it seems that having a children is a heavy burden. Although the government rolled out many measures to encourage childbirth, including the newborn baby bonus of $20,000, childcare leaves for civil servants, cash incentives is not able to solve the structural problems, and there is no and the policies are fragmented in different policy bureaus and departments, and education bureau, labor and welfare department. We have to have a high-level coordination to consolidate resources so that we can implement our policies and measures well. Say, for example, we don't have enough childcare centers. Which department should be responsible for that? I think that we should have a top-tier coordination instead of just relying on labor and welfare department. To address the issues, the DAB thinks that we should set up a standing task force led by officials at the Secretary of Department to coordinate policies in relation to education, welfare, and healthcare so that we can encourage childbirth. The standing task force should review the effectiveness of the policies to make sure that the resources are well used, and we should analyze the trend of population with community organizations to devise targeted measures. And creating a family-friendly workplace, I think that we should create a good, family-friendly employer charter to give recognition and tax concessions to employers who offer flexible working hours for their employees. We should allow parents to stay at home and work from home and have flexible working hours, and we should implement such measures in the government first so that we can set an example for the private sector. We ask the Civil Service College to share their experience on offering family-friendly employment policies. By this, more working parents can improve their productivity while they take care of their families. At the same time, the government should increase the number of service quotas for childcare centers. I thank the Labor and Welfare Bureau for their work on improving the neighborhood childcare support project. But I hope that at government buildings and public NGO premises, we can provide for childcare centers. At commercial buildings and shopping centers, there should be, say, for example, a family parking spaces, a family toilets, and nursery rooms with better environment. At the same time, we should train foreign domestic helpers and community nannies in their capabilities of taking care of children. We can also make reference to KWB in setting up nursery rooms in bus stops so that we can create a more friendly environment. Mr. Tang Fei, President, I speak in support of Ms. Judy Chan's motion. Now, I'd like to talk about a movie where the protagonist said to his friend that you have to take up responsibilities for having a children. And his friend said that he don't want to give birth. That's because he don't want to take up any responsibility. So it seems that having children is a conflict between freedom and commitment. A survey published in March says that people don't give birth because they want to seek freedom instead of worrying about housing. So this shows a shift in social values. Many people aspire for freedom and quality of life instead of having children. The reason why people don't have children is not because they can't afford it, but they don't want to have their quality of life affected. In the society led by Confucianism, individualism has become the prevailing value. It comes from, say, a development of the interest, career progression, social lives, traveling. All these are criteria for us to assess our quality of life and how we fulfill our potentials. So having children is not a must for many people. It seems that we have to make sacrifices when we decide to have children. And when we give birth, we are constrained. Many people seek self-actualization. They attach importance to their quality of life. So having children comes with great opportunity cost. Another problem is that many parents want their children to be perfect. They go for elite kindergartens, primary schools, secondary schools. They ask their children to go for interest classes so that they can become elites in society. As a result, mothers have to dedicate much time and efforts into rearing their children. At the same time, they want to maintain their quality of life. That's why it's such a struggle for families to have children. It's impossible for us to force people to have children. What we can do is to try to influence them by changing their values. There are some things that we can do. First, we have to strengthen our support for families so that parents can have their children taken care of at the childcare centers or other venues in communities instead of just relying on their grandparents or foreign domestic helpers. We have to increase childcare services for children aged between 0 and 3. And they have to be of high quality so that parents, especially mother, will have their worries and stress alleviated. At the age of AI, children don't have to win at the start. So I think that we should promote AI generic education to help our parents keep up with the times. By having these measures, we hope to alleviate the worries and pressures of parents who seek perfectionism. We have to accept that social values are changing. It's impossible for us to force people to have children. There's just so much that we can do. Thank you. Mr. Benson Look. Thank you, President. I support Ms. Judy Chan's motion on improving the policy on encouraging childbirth and the amendments by the other 3 members. According to the CNSD, the number of baby born went from 68,280 in 1991 to about 46,970 in 2003 to 36,700 in 2024. So this shows that the number of babies born is just half of what's in 1990s. The number of student enrollment in kindergarten keep going down. This will undermine our demographic structure and shrink our working force. I noticed that the government has been devising policies to encourage childbirth. We have a series of measures on it. The government has taken on board my suggestions in 2023 at a members' motion debate in the oral questions that I put. I asked the government to roll out cash incentives of $20,000 to encourage childbirth. I'm glad that the government has accepted my recommendations by rolling out this newborn baby bonus in the 2023 policy address. The number of baby borns in 2024 show the effectiveness of the scheme, which has gone up by 3,000 compared to the year before. I have a few suggestions. First, I hope that the administration will develop a top-tier task force and a commissioner to plan for a population. We should devise a population development blueprint and develop a population database to collect data on demand for workforce. The government should also be innovative by making reference to other places. We should issue happiness cards to families with 2 or more children by offering them discounts on public transport. Second, to encourage families to have more children, the government can give more tax concessions to families. We should increase the child allowance and make it progressive so that the more children the family have, the more child allowance they will enjoy. We should also offer tax concessions and deductions for families with children aged below 3. We should also offer childcare services and tax deductions for families employing foreign domestic helpers. We should also allocate community nannies according to the number of children in a particular district. Apart from cash support, as I've said multiple times, we have to create a child-friendly environment in the communities. In the 1970s, the government, in order to lower the birth rate, they have been devising many measures. In 1975, the Family Council engaged a famous lyricist to write a song saying that 2 children is enough. And that was very effective back then. 50 years have passed since then. In 2025, we are faced with a low birth rate. I think that the government should try to come up with new ways to encourage childbirth. I think that by writing a song, that would be a good move. Thank you.
Ms. Maggie Chan. President, I speak in support of the motion moved by Ms. Judy Chan. We face the challenge of a low fertility rate. That's because of high childbearing cost, pressure from your workplace, etc. It's difficult for women to return to work after childbirth. This affects the participation rate. In my election platform, I have talked about the issue of support for women development. I have made proposals to the policy address to provide support for women. I made suggestions in relation to providing more childcare support measures for women in the workplace. I now make more suggestions. Regularize the newborn baby bonus. To show the public the determination of the government, the baby bonus should continue. It can be dispensed on a tier system more to grassroots families. It should be packed with childcare service to encourage users to use government childcare service. If there is inadequate childcare service, it affects the labor participation rate. The government should take the lead to set up small-scale childcare service in government offices and places with a lot of businesses to encourage use. It makes it easier for women to return to work. We need to improve territory-wide childcare service. The government has been working to improve it, but the number of places fall short of demand, and the allocation is not even. In areas with a high demand, the supply should increase. There should be more standalone childcare centers set up. There should be many different arrangements, say for example, long holiday, weekend, so that families will be more inclined to have children. There should be a women development blueprint. The Women Development Fund should be enhanced as well. There should be a high-level cross-departmental working group formulating policies on different aspects, say for example, employment benefits, maternity leave, workplace arrangements, and family education. There should be short, medium, long-term goals set. There should be KPIs set to help women return to the workplace. The Women Empowerment Fund should be enhanced. There should be various subsidies provided. There should be incentives provided for women to start their own businesses. There should be a support platform. There should be guidance for full-time, part-time work. There should be matching of information. All these will be conducive to release labor potential from women. The Hong Kong PSG should be enhanced as well. Population density should be taken into account when standards are set. But there is an imbalance between demand and supply, especially in densely populated area. There should be priority given to new development areas such as the Northern Metropolis to provide elderly service as well as childcare service. There should be a data monitoring system to assess quality and utility and utilization. I speak in support of the motion. Thank you. Mrs. Regina Ip. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the motion and the amendment. As Ms. Chen said, that low birth rate is a problem faced by many places, especially in advanced countries. whether it's European countries, Japan, or the US. There is a low birth rate and an aging population. The global population may shrink. Elon Musk said that one day Japan will disappear. In the mainland, there is a low birth rate in cities. Couples with high education level and heavy workload don't want to have children, so they'd rather keep a pet. And that is not related to whether same-sex partnerships should be allowed to register. I have some suggestions. The first one has been debated on by the LEUNG, whether there should be facilitation for citizens, especially women, to use assistive reproductive service. I remember Professor Low, the secretary, said that it's not useful to allow the freezing of gametes regardless of age, because the quality of the gamete will drop. It's very difficult actually for highly educated women to find a partner because they tend to be more picky. I understand that in banks in the US there is cash subsidy for women in the management level to use assistive reproductive service. I know someone who's in her 40s who used the service and has given birth to a child. Assisted reproductive service is helpful. Yesterday actually was a milestone of our history. Well, on the 18th of July, there was the Gazetto, that is in relation to the Human Reproductive Technology Ordinance and relevant regulations. There are proposals made under the ordinance and the regulations, one of which is that freezing of gametes for individual use can be kept for 10 years. That is the current time frame. Currently is 10 years or when the patient reaches 55 years old. Under the legislative amendment, the freezing period will be changed. If there is a decision, well, the patients can decide themselves the time frame within which the gamete is frozen. I thank the government for making such a decision. I also thank the board for the support. On the 1st of December, the legislative amendment will become effective. It's very good news because it gives women more choices. The $20,000 should continue. In recent years, the birth rate has increased. I don't know whether it's because of is the year of the dragon or the baby bonus. But for couples with 2 children, they should be offered tax concessions if they have another child. Say, for example, they'll be exempt from paying tax for 1 year. Well, if for high salary taxpayers, if you offer them tax exemption for 1 year, then it will be a bigger incentive. I think it will help with our population growth, I so speak. Professor Priscilla LEUNG, I speak in support of the motion by Ms. Judy Chen. When it comes to child policy, is about childbirth and child care. I thank mothers for doing the hard work. Giving birth is difficult. So is child rearing. On the 11th floor, I see a young male employee carrying his child on a sling. He strolls around with the baby on the 11th floor. I always give him some recognition. Perhaps we need to make arrangements for employees with children to bring their children to work. That's the theme of my speech today. Apart from encouragement, we need to also advocate a change in culture. In the past, the culture is that you must have a child. But time is different. A lot of young people shy away from family duties. They simply don't get married. In Japan, there is a young man who got married with a virtual lover. That was an actual ceremony as well. In the Middle East, there is a case in which someone got married with a robot. The younger generation grow up with the internet and technology. When they grow up, are they ready to become a parent? What about their social circles? Will the future generation know what love is? Will they know how to hug? A lot of young people want to keep pets. You will have to show your pet love. So human beings should enjoy parenting. If you don't see it as pressure, then you'll be able to feel love. Selfless love if you're a parent. A complete family with mother and father is the best environment to bring up a child. Now, because of pressure, people suffer from anxiety, depression. They can't take the pressure of being a parent. We need to provide them with assistance. We need to consider the parents and children of others as our own. There are retirees who are only in their 60s. They have plenty of experience to bring up a child. They have advice on education and social skills. Yes, we have postnatal service these days. The market is huge, but we also need to use the silver hair. They are productive. They have experience. Population is an important issue. An issue important to not just Hong Kong but our country as well. There can be special schemes launched. There can be a time bank, not just for elderly people, but for young families with children. It's a good culture. If we can get the support of the government, if there is a systematic arrangement, it may be very popular. We want a society that advocates child rearing. When we see someone with a child, we should give them a smile. I so submit.
Mr. Lai Chung-kwok, President, I speak in support of the motion moved by Ms. Judy Chen. Childbirth policy is an important issue in many advanced economies. there's a trend of declining birth rates in the world. The average number of births per woman has dropped below 1 for many places. It is below the replacement level of 2.1. Many countries, including the mainland, Spain and the UK, are facing a declining population. The average birth rate per woman is 1.4. In 2024, many places have reached the peak of the population. There will be a 14% drop in the population in the next 30 years. These pose serious challenges to stability and prosperity of societies. Now we presume that this is the next generation's responsibility to bear a child, but is that so simple? Every generation faces their own difficulties. Now, according to a survey conducted this year, more than 90% consider that financial obstacles is the greatest challenge to childbirth. Pursuits of freedom and also housing are also obstacles. Now, when it comes to childbirth policy, we used to think about the South Korean government. Now, over the past 20 years, the South Korean government allocated a lot of resources to encourage childbirth. For example, cash bonuses and cash allowance. But they only succeed in encouraging a small number of families to give birth. Now, the Population Fund of the UN points out that a truly effective population policy must address the issues faced by mothers in workplace, and there must be an overhaul in culture and workplace practice. Now, with the higher education attained by women, many women have high hopes for the career. Now, even with policy incentives, many women choose not to give birth. After giving birth, because of the long working hours and also lack of childcare support, many women will stop at having one baby. Now, the New People's Party has raised a number of suggestions to the government. For example, issuing the newborn baby bonus and also providing subsidies to women who choose to freeze their eggs. Now, the newborn baby bonus may not be much, but it is a token of encouragement for new families. The New People's Party also supports the government to offer tax allowance for families using assisted reproduction services. We must attach importance to the new mindset of the young generation. Their pursuit of freedom overrides all other consideration. Work pressure is huge, and besides taking care of the daily life of children, they also have to help with the homework of children. It is really tiring. A solution may be establishing a high-quality, publicly run childcare system to alleviate the childcare pressure on parents. Also, we have to drive cultural change to reduce cutthroat competition and inflation. We need to create an atmosphere favorable for childbearing. Only with a multi-pronged approach can we enhance the willingness for families to give birth and inject vitality to the population. Professor William Wong. President, I speak in support of Ms. Judy Chan's motion. Our birth rate has remained low, but over the past 2 years, there has been a trend of recovery. Last year, there were more than 36,000 babies born, a record high since 2021. Several years ago, when there was political instability in Hong Kong, the number of childbirth was low. But with the implementation of the National Security Law and Article 23, society has returned to stability, and it is natural that birth rate has come up again. But there are still a lot of obstacles. The young generation would prefer having pets than child. And also there is the new challenge of AI companion. Tech companies eye after the companion needs of singleton and create AI companions who can offer emotional values to the singleton. It also saves the users from the need to deal with the pressure coming with human relationship. So besides fertility rates, we are also competing with AI. Now, several years ago, a research revealed the key to enhancing childbirth. Educational system is the most important consideration. Political stability comes next, and then accommodation space. In the era of AI, rote learning is no longer required. Many DSE high achievers this year said that they relied on AI to help their study. So I think we need to reform our education system. There are two directions. First, our curriculum must catch up with the AI's development. We have to use AI to nurture the talents we need. Second, we need to roll out small class teaching and use AI to cater for the diversified learning needs of students. Only by creating a happy learning environment can we encourage young couples to give birth to a next generation who can thrive in a quality education environment. Next, housing. It is not ideal for children to live in cramped space. Now, besides the family with newborns flag selection priority scheme, we need to relax the income threshold for families with babies. There can be an N+1 arrangement. For families with children, the income threshold should be relaxed to a 4-person household. For a 4-person household with a child, the income threshold should be relaxed to that of a 5-person household. That can encourage childbirth. Now, besides, we need to have relevant policy support in terms of population policy. We need to encourage childbirth to encourage replacement of population, but we have to enhance the competitiveness of our population as well. Now, Singapore only has 6 million population, but Singapore's competitiveness has surpassed Hong Kong in many fronts. So besides the size of population, enhancing the education level of population, innovativeness and cohesion are also important. Encouraging childbirth is not just about boosting the fertility rate, but also about creating a favorable education environment for the next generation and ensure sustainable competitiveness. Thank you. Mr. Perry Yu. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the motion and the amendments moved by the two members. Low fertility rates and aging population affects the education sector. It also affects the sustainable development of economy. In 2024, there were 36,700 babies born. The total fertility rate has risen from 701 in 2020 to 841. That means that in every woman's lifetime, 0.841 babies were born. Now, but compared with the replacement level of 50,000 to 60,000 babies per year, the situation is still worrying. Now, this time of the government actually responds to the aspirations of families. Number of quota places in childcare centers and neighborhood childcare support centers have been increased. There is Families with Newborns Flex Selection Priority Scheme and Allocation Priority Scheme to encourage childbirth. I applaud the government's effort. It shows the government's determination to boost fertility rates, but there is still room for improvement. So through today's discussion, the government should take our views to enhance the population policy. There are different ways to interfere with childbirth, but after all, this is a very personal matter with very complicated factors behind. So my focus will be on reducing the opportunity cost for women to re-enter the workforce after childbirth. I would like to share my views on two areas. First of all, creating a family-friendly atmosphere, and second, reviewing the age threshold for children to remain alone at home. Now, for women above the age of 40 and 60, the labor participation rate is 42.5% and 71.2% for those above the age of 30. Now, in May this year, the new Youth Forum has conducted a survey on family friendliness together with other women associations. The question is, what measures can help them most? 43% of them answered flexi work arrangements. 17.9% mentioned special family leaves, 13% insurance, 11% childcare services, 1.5% emotional support. And the survey shows that more than half of working mothers think that flexi work arrangements can help them most. In fact, in terms of childcare, mothers are usually the first responsibility holders. Of course, fathers should share the burden as well. When the child gets sick or when the foreign domestic helper has to take urgent leave, usually the mother would be the one to step in immediately. However, it is not possible if the workplace arrangements is rigid. So the employers should provide more flexi measures for female workers. It is best that labor and employers negotiate an appropriate plan rather than relying on government's legislation. But I agree with Ms. Nixie LAM's proposal to establish more tax allowance schemes and incentives to encourage employers to adopt flexi arrangements. In terms of reducing opportunity costs for women to re-enter the workforce, there is a policy contradiction. Now, according to the legislation, children under the age of 13 years cannot remain alone at home. But according to the legislation, a children at 13 can be employed. That's perplexing. The rule was set back in 1913. It adds to the concern for women to re-enter workforce. Let's review the law. Thank you.
Mr. Chan Kim-par. Thank you, President. The government has rolled out a series of measures to encourage childbirth, to create a child-friendly environment to reverse the low fertility rate. Data shows that Hong Kong has the lowest fertility rate around the world. Over the long term, it will undermine our competitiveness and our demographic structure. I thank Ms. Judy Chan for moving the motion, the other members for moving amendments, so that we can talk about this issue that has to do with our overall and long-term development. The cost of living is high in Hong Kong. Many families have both parents work. People are worried that their career will be affected if they have children. As a modern economy, our policies to encourage childbirth lag behind of other economies. Many advanced economies have 14 weeks of maternity leave. Say, for example, UK 39 weeks, Switzerland 300 odd days, Japan and South Korea extend the maternity leave to 16 weeks. And starting from April this year, the paternity leave will be increased to 4 weeks. The Singaporean government improved childcare leave system. After the reform, both parents can enjoy an extra 6 weeks of pay. Starting from June, the childcare leave will be extended to 10 weeks. However, in Hong Kong, maternity leave lasts for only 14 weeks and paternity leave lasts only 5 days. With the consent of the employer, I think that we should continue to increase our maternity leave to 18 weeks, and we should consider extending the paternity leave to strike a balance between the responsibilities of both parents. Also, we should encourage employers to offer flexible working arrangements and allow their employees to work from home so that parents can take care of their young children. At the same time, we should have regards to the cost to be shouldered by the business sector. I think that the government should offer subsidies to enterprises of different sizes so that we can align our policies with the rest of the world. Child-rearing cost is heavy when the children are young. However, our policies are not effective enough. Under our prevailing policies, each parent will enjoy a child allowance of $130,000, and at the year when the children is born, they will enjoy a double tax allowance. I think that we should extend this double arrangement to when the children is aged 3 to 5. This will alleviate the economic burden of the people. There is insufficient supply of childcare services. When the government roll out new measures, they should reinforce existing facilities. We should collect data on the demand of childcare service in different districts so that we can be more targeted in our measures. We should extend the childcare service hours. Cash incentives can alleviate the pressure of many parents, but the worries that people have is due to the lack of support. I think that the government should provide and create a childcare support center to offer round-the-clock support for parents covering children of different stages. We should offer, say, special education needs and mental support for families. Policies on encouraging childbirth should be one of our measures and a population blueprint. We should create a child-rearing friendly environment to alleviate the problem of an aging population. Mr. Chen Yong. Thank you, President. Thank you, Secretary. I'd like to talk about population development. I think that we have to improve our policy on encouraging childbirth. I thank Ms. Judy Chen for her motion and the other members for their amendments. According to statistics and the government papers, fertility rate of Hong Kong rebounded last year. Last year, there were 36,700 babies born. The total fertility rate was 0.841. This is a new high since 2021. So it shows that the government policies are effective. This is the second consecutive year when the total fertility rate rose. But I think that the Secretary should look into whether the reason for the rise in fertility rate is because in 2024 we had the Year of Dragon. We should look into the background, the age, the academic qualifications of the parents, as well as where they live. Some young couples, after having 1 to 2 children, may want to have another one because they are more experienced. But some stop at having 1 child. I think that we should have progressive tax allowance for parents. I have some case to share with you. Many successful women are unwilling to have children, but their parents-in-laws want them to have children, and they told the women that they will take care of the children while the mother can focus on the work. But of course, it's best for the mother to take care of their children on their own. But I think that this division of duty is reasonable. Can our society operate in such a way as a whole? I think that perhaps we should have division of labor in the society so that after the parents give birth, then the child care centers will take care of the children, and then schools will take care of the education. So that all the couples have to do is to just have the children. Parents are always worried about their children regardless of how old they are. They're worried if they can take care of themselves. Many parents are faced with pressures on different fronts, say, for example, education, healthcare, finances, so on and so forth. So I think that we should have a population policy. Different policy, government bureaus and departments should devise measures to encourage childbirth. People are stressed about childbearing because they have very few children. I think that the government should offer support in terms of housing, economic, and welfare policies to parents so that they will have their stress alleviated, and as a result, they will be more willing to have children. We should offer family-friendly measures, such as the one proposed by Ms. Nixie LAM. We should consolidate resources of different government departments. We should provide parents with certification and tax incentives. Many of my colleagues are on maternity leaves. I think that on top of legislations, employers should offer extra support to their employees. Thank you. Dr. So Chung-hung. President, the government spares no efforts to tackle the problem of low fertility rate and an aging population. They have launched the newborn baby bonus, tax concessions, and measures alike. The fertility rate rose slightly back up in 2024. However, we only had some 36,000 babies born that year. That's far lower than 52,000 in 2019. Not to mention 95,000 babies born in 2011, which was our peak. 96% of respondents to a survey say that they are not willing to have children because of economic burden involved. In order to reverse this problem, the government have to offer support to families to take care of their children, to alleviate their worries. At the same time, we must create a child-friendly environment. More importantly, we have to have our young people aspiring for creating families and having children. So I support the amendments. Apart from the pressure of child rearing, there are other reasons for why couples are not willing to have children, and that's why many women, after they have given birth to their children, have to leave the workforce. We don't have enough child care services, especially full-day child care places. Employers are generally unwilling to offer flexible arrangements to employees with children, and there is often discrimination. Third, the workplace design is not conducive to child rearing. In our city, we don't have enough play space for our children. This issue is a long-standing one. There are more and more people who are unwilling to have children, and that's because of many different reasons. So I think that the government should set short, medium to long-term goals when they come up with measures, and we have to instill a change in people's values. First, on a short-term goal, we have to improve child care services. We have to establish more daycare centers. We have to improve our neighborhood child care support project and offer tax concessions on hiring nannies. And we also have to improve families with newborn allocation priority schemes so that we can offer more incentives to people to have children. Second, on the medium run, we say, for example, a country, Shenzhen, promulgated a guidance on creating a child-friendly city. I think that we should learn from it. Third, in terms of our long-term goal, we have to reshape our family values. We have to teach our children at schools our core values so that people will have children and see it as a goal. The government should increase the number of maternity leaves and provide flexible arrangements for parents to alleviate worries. Please pause here.
Mr. Bill Tang. Thank you, President. I first of all would like to thank my wife who gave birth to my 2 children. I thank Ms. Judy Chan, who is a mother, for moving the motion. I'm a legislator. I need to talk about policy, but it's a personal choice. Nowadays, people are highly educated. Women may earn more than men. The decision to have a child is the decision between 2 people, but it's a decision based on love. We talk about a high dependency rate and an aging population. When it comes to having a child, maybe some people want to create a better, someone who's better than themselves. It can be of many different reasons. I'm very busy, but still I rushed home to spend however much time I have with my children. Well, I have deviated. I'd like to talk about a couple of points. Ms. Chen said in her motion reducing the opportunity cost for women to re-enter the workforce after childbirth as an entry point is valid. The Secretary for Labour and Welfare is here. I asked for reform of the Labour Department. Perhaps there can be a couple of job centres that are not general. They are dedicated to help women find jobs. People talk about recruitment difficulties. But when it comes to jobs like housekeeper in a hotel, it works when you have a child because you're usually working between 10 and 3. Perhaps some job centers can be transformed to serve a particular target group. They should not just serve as a middleman, receiving information from employers and forwarding the information to job seekers. You need to give assurance to women that the government is helping them find a job. The second point is about the postnatal employment protection. I know labor laws very well. No employers will be stupid enough to dismiss someone after they have returned from the maternity leave because there are laws and there is an understanding that women, when they return to work, should be protected. But there are still worries that people are concerned that they may return to work only to find that they will be dismissed. Well, companies may offer the full compensation to ask the person to resign. That's not stopped by the employment ordinance. But if you know something about the law, then you'll know that you can lodge a complaint with the EOC, the Equal Opportunities Commission. And you can make a complaint and the employee and the employer will take back what they offer. Majority of employers are law-abiding. We don't want to be involved in complaints of the EOC because it's embarrassing. Perhaps we should make it clear that for a period of time, say 6 months after someone returns to work from maternity leave, there is employment protection. Dismissal is not allowed unless there is a grave mistake made. I urge the government to actively consider it. We have to reduce the opportunity cost for women to re-enter the force, to give people confidence that they will be able to continue with their career after childbirth. Thank you. Mr. Yim Kong. I thank Ms. Chen for the motion which gives us an opportunity to have a discussion on population policy and our demographic structure. The government launched a number of incentive measures to encourage childbirth. We fully recognize them. In 2024, the birth rate is only 0.841, which is much lower than the replacement level of 2.1. We have an aging population. We need to formulate targeted, innovative policies. We need to set goals at different stages so that Hong Kong's development can be sustained. There needs to be a long-term population strategy. In 2049, that is the centenary of the founding of the PRC, we will have a 9 million strong population. We need to actively consider enhancing our demographic structure. We need to enhance the top talent pass scheme as well as other admission schemes. We need to strengthen retirement schemes on the mainland so that retirees can enjoy their retirement without worry. We also need to make good use of resources to enhance the welfare of the general population. We need to reduce the opportunity cost for women who give up their career for a child. Based on current family-friendly policies, we need to add tax incentives or tax allowances for families with children. We also need to enhance the tax deductions of expenditure relating to child rearing. Currently, the maternity leave is 14 weeks, and a number of cities and provinces on the mainland, you get at least 180 days. In US and Europe, it's at least 180 days. I ask the private sector to work with the government to enhance better benefits in terms of maternity and paternity leave. We need to provide assistance for women to further their career. Women from grassroots families or those on CSSA, when their children reach the age of, say, 12, they will be able to return to work. But they've spent too long outside the workforce. Assistance should be provided to help them address the difficulties. There should be a reform. Based on the reemployment subsidy scheme, more incentives should be provided. Pathways should be set. Employees Retraining Board should provide assistance. There should be enhancement of daycare centers so that they can continue to work without having to worry about their children. We need to have a macro view. We have to have clear tax policies, short, medium, and long-term goals. We need to put in place family-friendly measures, better support to families so that we can build Hong Kong into a family-friendly city. This will be the cornerstone for our population development. I speak in support of Ms. Chan's motion. Mr. Peter Shiu. President, it's indisputable that we have an aging population. We advocate the use of imported labor to replenish our labor force. We support the government's effort to encourage childbirth. We understand that the CE and the Secretary both attach importance to this topic. That's why we have the newborn baby bonus, the newborn allocation priority scheme, as well as tax allowances for assisted reproductive services. We ask for more childcare childcare places, after-school care service in certain districts. There should be an increase in the deduction for expenditure related to foreign domestic helpers. If you know that you get help, then you will want to have children. There should be 11 more aided standalone childcare centers with an additional 1,000 places. The after-school care service has been expanded to all 18 districts. When it comes to school-based ones, it's expanded from 59 schools to 125 primary schools. We're glad that we have made this achievement. Some members talk about uneven allocation of demand. I think the government should take that into account. In relation to Ms. Lam's, Mr. Look's amendments, they talk about support. Well, Ms. Lam's and Mr. Kenneth LEUNG's amendments, well, it's along the same vein. That's why we support them. However, it's different for Mr. Look. He talked about postnatal employment protection period to ensure that employees will not be unreasonably demoted, replaced, or dismissed. There are laws protecting women in this category. In relation to legislation, well, there should not be unreasonable dismissal. The district court has delivered judgment in 2005. the person was dismissed because of the family status. They won the case. So there is no need to set this protection period. Mr. Look also talked about extending the maternity leave to 16 weeks. In 2002 and in 2022, there was also the reimbursement scheme of maternity leave. The maternity leave has been extended from 14 weeks to 16 weeks, 10 weeks to 14 weeks. Well, they are paid 4/5 of their pay. Well, if we have the means, it will not be a matter to extend the maternity leave. In the budget in 25-26, well, there will be an additional $200 million to pay the additional leave. If it's another 2 weeks, it will be another $100 million. I don't think I need to elaborate on the current business environment. Well, now there is the extension of paternity leave from 3 to 5 days. For certain people, it's 12 to 17 days. We have the abolition of the offsetting arrangements, and the statutory minimum wage has increased to $42. And the review is taking place once a year, and we have full portability of MPF next year. Well, in terms of continuous employment is changed from 418 to 468. When it comes to continuous employment, after the change, I believe that a lot of people who used to work part-time will enjoy the benefit as a full-time employee. This will only add to the operating cost of businesses. We are unable to support Mr. Look's amendment. I think the most important incentive is to give them assurance that they will be able to afford having a child. How will you give them assurance in accommodation? How do you make sure that they can make a living? I think that's important.
Mr. Edmund Wong, thank you, Deputy President. Forming a family and giving birth to children, enjoying family life, this is a common aspiration for the human being. Now, from baby to a grown-up, parents can witness the growth of their children. That's the most precious present to them. But it is true that Hong Kong is a very competitive society. There is a culture of pursuing career growth. With this culture, the young generation is reluctant to get married, not to mention giving birth. Now, for my cohort, when we graduate in the age of 23, it takes 5 years to take all the accountants examination, and then we take another 10 years to become a partners in a firm. Many of my female friends who are also accountants are not married until late 30s. They face a very tough choice. Now, many of the female workers in my industry choose to freeze their eggs to extend their fertility life. This March, the government removed the storage periods of gametes of 10 years. That's to cater for the needs of working women who would like to postpone their age of giving birth. Now, whether to get married or have child is a personal choice, but the government has the responsibility to enhance the childbirth support policies to reduce the pressure on young couples. And also, society as a whole and the private business sector should also nurture a culture of pro-family values and encourage young people to get married and give birth. Now, I thank Ms. Judy Chan for moving this motion, which gives us an opportunity to pull our thoughts together on better support for the return of postnatal women to the workforce. And also, concerning the amendments moved by Ms. Nixie LAM and Mr. Kenneth LEUNG to encourage childbirth, I give my support. Concerning Mr. Michael Leuk's amendments, I think he comes from a good intention. He mentions that we have to protect the welfare of working women after giving birth and also postnatal employment protection period. These are good suggestions, but this is a transitional period for our economy. SMEs are facing huge pressure. Mr. Michael Leung also proposed extending the maternity leave from 14 weeks to 16 weeks and also offering full pay during the maternity leave period. That would add to the pressure of SMEs and also make employers reluctant to hire married employees. Now, in this day and age, many working families need to, both couples need to work to maintain the family budget. Now, despite the good intention, these proposals may reduce the opportunity at workplace for married women. It would become a negative thing. Like Mr. Peter Xu said, we have just extended the maternity leave from 10 weeks to 14 weeks. It has just been 4 years' time. The Labour Advisory Board and the stakeholders have not had sufficient discussion. Extending the maternity leave period to 16 weeks would not only add to administrative costs but also cause other problems. So I will cast an abstention vote for Mr. Michael Leung's amendment. I support the motion and the other amendments. Mr. Kiss-Yang. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the motion moved by Ms. Judy Chen to improve policy on encouraging childbirth. Now, last year, we had some 36,000 babies born, 10% increase compared with 2023, but the fertility rate is 0.8, much lower than the replacement level of 2.1. Now, last year, the fertility rate in Hong Kong has risen mildly. That's because of the combination punches to promote childbirth launched by the government. Now, because of all the obstacles, including childcare and also the expenditure pre- and postnatal, many families choose not to give birth. There is an acute shortage of childcare places. Now, without foreign domestic helper, many mothers have to become full-time moms. Now, a good childcare policy can encourage childbirth while unleashing the female labor force. Now, Finland has seen an increase in birth rate during the pandemic. In 2021, there was a baby boom. Labor participation rates and workforce has remained at a healthy level. Now, Finland is a paradise for parents. Now, for young children between the age of 0 and 6, the government offered free and quality education service. There's equal opportunities for parents in terms of paternity and maternity leave. They can receive subsidies equivalent to 70% of their salary. Now, whether they hire private child carers or receive childcare service in public organization, they can be subsidized. According to figures, more than 90% of Finland parents have applied for the above subsidies, and more than half of the children are studying in public-run daycare center. Now, care for children below the age of 3 in Hong Kong is accuracy low. Now, there is a 1,000 gap in childcare service places for those children under the age of 6. And for childcare centers, parents have to collect their children at 6 p.m., but many workers are still working at that time. So we need to make our childcare services accessible and cheap with sufficient quality. Development of professional childcare is important. Finland is a place we should learn from. The government should collect and analyze data concerning the employment of parents with children and estimate the total demand for childcare services for the next 10 years to plan for the provision of services. There has to be more daycare centers and more subsidies to operators. Manning ratio and carers' quality should be increased. Now we should learn from the Finland example to set guidelines in terms of qualification and other aspects. Childcare centers should operate until 7 or better yet 8 p.m. to be helpful. Now the fees charged by the centers should not exceed $2,000, and also there should be a relaxation to the threshold of education allowance. Now, neighborhood or home-based child carers are very important. The Social Welfare Department should provide retraining or top-up courses to home-based child carers, or even establish a registered system so that parents can choose quality carers. More women should be incentivized to become home-based child carers. After-school care programs should be regularized. Number of schools participating should be increased so that parents can work without worry. Now, I support the government in enhancing the combination punches for child care policies. The government should consider extending the child allowance to the first 3 tax assessment years after the birth of child. There should also be tax allowance for foreign domestic helper and also prenatal checkups. Thank you. Ms. Chan Yue-ming. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Judy Chan for moving the motion on improving the policy on encouraging childbirth. Hong Kong faces the challenges brought about by continuously low birth rate. It is not just an issue of childbirth, it is also about social welfare and education. Many women have to make tough choices in their career. Now we have to do more than just chanting the slogan of enhancing the policy of childbirth. We need to address the deep-rooted concerns of women so that they will choose to give birth. I agree that we need to reduce the opportunity cost for women to re-enter the workforce after childbirth. We need to understand the burden on working women in Hong Kong. Now, besides giving birth, there's also the pressure from workplace and also the gap in childcare services. Now, according to figures, women has the highest opportunity cost in Hong Kong in workplace. Now, to become a mother, besides physical considerations, women also have to face inequality at workplace. Now, with the various measures launched by the government, it helps a bit, but these are just short-term boosts. We need to change the culture and other structural issues in workplace, especially in terms of assisted reproductive services. The waiting time is long, and also the treatment cycle only covers 1 year, and it only covers women below the age of 40. It doesn't benefit women who marry late in their lifetime. These are unfair practices. First, we need to consider establishing or creating a more fair environment, working environments for women. We need to encourage employers to implement family-friendly employment policies so that pregnant women or women with children are offered flexi work arrangements, for example, work from home arrangements. For good employers, the government must offer more incentives. Now, anti-discrimination is important. We need to establish an effective complaint mechanism. There must also be a rapid mechanism to protect women at workplace. Now, we also need to expand childcare services. Maybe we can consider creative approaches. Besides increasing the number of childcare services, we should adopt a more streamlined targeted vetting mechanism. The government may also launch an education voucher for nurseries. Now, the voucher can be spent on childcare services or subsidizing families to choose appropriate childcare organizations. Now, concerning the childcare time, service hours should be extended to 7 or 8 p.m. That will address the actual needs of working women. 3, we need to break away from the rigid mold of gender roles. And according to Ms. Nixie LAM's amendment, we need to study how to enhance the roles played by husbands. Now, there are views that we can extend the paternity leave for husbands. I think we can discuss the matter to reach a consensus so as to alleviate burden on women. Now, we need to start with helping mothers. Now, when mothers no longer have to fight a lone battle, when mothers don't have to make a choice between career or birth, it will encourage childbirth. We need to rise up to the aspirations of working women in Hong Kong. We need to translate policies into real warmth and make the future inclusive. Thank you.
Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Judy Chen for moving this motion on improving the policy on encouraging childbirth and the other members for moving the amendments. The fertility rate of Hong Kong has been going down. This has resulted in an aging population, shrinking working force, undermining our economic development and social welfare facilities, as well as policies. The government have devised many measures to plug the gap. We need to have a healthy demographic structure for the long-term development of a city. So the government must address the issue of low fertility rate in Hong Kong. I know that we already have many measures to create a child-friendly environment in the society, in workplace. We have tax concessions, newborn baby bonus, improved assisted reproductive measures. We encourage corporations to devise family-friendly practices to encourage couples to have children after they graduate from school. However, whether to have a children or not is a personal decision. Why are people not having children? Is it because of an education? Is it because of economy or housing? According to the statistics collected by organization, it is found that there are fewer and fewer secondary school students who want to get married. I asked if couples were being taught how to raise a child. They said that they are not, and they are worried that they cannot properly raise a child. They don't have enough support. So I think that this is an issue that we have to look into. Singapore, starting from secondary school, they ask their students to go through a class on family life so that they can be better prepared for the future. The curriculum include a baby caring and mental development of children aged between 0 and 6. Many young couples are worried that they don't know how to teach their children. That's why they are stressed, and that's why they don't want to have children. I have a suggestion. I think that at secondary school stage, we should teach our students mental development of children, child-rearing skills. We should include these into the subject on social and civil development so that we can teach young couples skills on the prenatal and postnatal care. And we should offer support and inquiry hotlines for young couples so that they don't feel that they're on their own. It seems that our measures to encourage childbirth focus on cash and financial incentives. In 2021, the General Office State Council passed the laws on education, it is said that schools should work with families to organize family education training and activities by inviting experts to share their knowledge on childbearing. Family education promotion law stipulates that activities should be organized to teach parents how to educate their children and promote harmony between schools and parents. During the course of raising a child, parents are often faced with pressure and they have their mental health affected. As a result, tragedies happened. Currently, at different districts, the government at district health centers have introduced a pilot scheme on mental health. I think that it should be extended to all 18 districts. We should offer family counseling so that counselors can offer services to parents and families in need. President, in order for us to encourage young couples to have children, we have to incentivize them. We need to have targeted and comprehensive population policy to tackle the problem. I think that we have to devise support on the education front to alleviate the worries of young people. Mr. Paul Che. President, I don't have a child. Some may think that I'm not qualified to speak on this topic. I thank the members for speaking on the reasons why we have such low fertility rate. If you look at the motion title, well, Ms. Judy Chan said that we have to reduce the opportunity cost for women to re-enter the workforce after childbirth. I have an experience to share. Our legislative election will take place on the 7th of December. Two assistants of mine had children, and they were worried about taking leaves from work, and they want to have flexible working hours. In the end, we had the baby girl as the volunteers so that she can be taken care of by their mothers at our offices a few days a week. Although sometimes there were emergencies, sometimes they cry, but the entire atmosphere was happy at our office. Many colleagues told me that they shared experience, and they sometimes ask me how come we offer sexual flexibility. So I appeal to members that they should set an example by learning from our office and Mr. Edmonds Wong's office to allow colleagues to bring their children to work. We should perhaps sometimes give awards to staff who have children. When I asked colleagues why sometimes their assistants resigned after working for them for decades, they told me that their assistants left because they have to have children. Also, we need to adopt animal-friendly policies. I know that in this premises, we don't allow animals in. Allow me to sidetrack. I think that we should relax these restrictions. We deal with serious issues at our office, but I do think that we should allow babies, children, and animals at our office. If my wife can also be here, then the animals, babies, and elderly can interact. This is how we encourage women to re-enter the workforce. So much for my experience sharing. Many members have talked about the reasons why people don't have children. Money is one of the factors. It could be because of a shift of social values. However, our political atmospheres deter people from having children. They don't know if they should move somewhere else, if they should have children. I hope that we should encourage our young people will be having more children.
Does any other member wish to speak? If not, Ms. Judy Chen, you may now speak on the amendments. Thank you, Deputy President. I also thank 35 members who have spoken to enrich my motion. That includes the 3 members who have moved amendments to my motion. I cannot agree with the proposals made by Mr. Michael Leung because his suggestions require a consensus between the Labour Advisory Board and the society. But I think the direction is good. I agree with the suggestions made by Ms. Nixie LAM and Mr. Kenneth LEUNG in their amendments. We really need a Secretary of Department level official to formulate population policies and other childbirth policies. Thank you.
의혹국장.
Secretary for Labor and Welfare. President, I once again thank Ms. Judy Chan for moving the motion, the 3 members for moving their amendments. There are a total of 36 members who have spoken on this motion. They have given us their suggestions. They have shared with us their experience. I will bring all the views and suggestions that I received today to the government for consideration. Ms. Yonghua Yan asked why I am alone here listening to members. In fact, I'm not on my own. I'm just representing the government to listen to members' views. The subject of childbearing involves a number of policy areas and bureaus, including the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary of Administration, the Education Bureau, the Housing Bureau, the Health Bureau, the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, the Labor and Welfare Bureau, and the Financial and Services and the Treasury Bureau, and so on. In fact, we care very much about this issue. As I said in my opening remarks, same with other advanced economies, we are faced with low fertility rate. This is a challenge. Many members have quoted places like Singapore. Singapore is like Hong Kong. Their fertility rate is extremely low. Each place and countries have regards to their own economic situation and cultural background in creating a child-friendly environment. As many members have said, environment can only be changed through the efforts of government, enterprises, and the community. It's impossible for us to force anyone to have children. This is the decision to be made by individuals, families, and women. We must respect the decision of families whether or not to have children, to have how many children. what we can do is to create an inclusive atmosphere in the society so that people can have children without worries. First, starting from the 25th of October 2023, we launched the newborn baby bonus. For each baby born after that day onwards, each parent will be given a cash incentive of $20,000. As at the end of June 2025, the government received a total of 49,569 eligible applications and has granted a total of about $979 million to 48,984 applicants. For the newborn baby bonus alone, the government has created a new non-recurrent commitment of $2.286 billion. This is a policy breakthrough and a significant financial commitment. The Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration is reviewing the scheme. In the process, they will take into account the suggestions made by the community. During this debate, many members talked about tax measures. Starting from the year of assessment 2024-25, taxpayers residing with their children born on or after 25th of October 2023 will enjoy a higher deduction limit for home loan interest or domestic rent from $100,000 to $120,000 for a maximum of 19 years of assessment, subject to the fulfillment of specified conditions. These measures, coupled with the tax concessions that I mentioned in my opening remarks, will help alleviate the burden of taxpayers in providing for their children. Now, in terms of childcare, the Social Welfare Department will set up a total of 11 additional subvented standalone childcare centers and phases and double the number of places to a total of about 2,000. The Social Welfare Department is also rolling out after-school care services for preschool children to all districts and phases and increasing the number of places under the Neighborhood Support Childcare Project to 2,500, which is expected to increase the number of beneficiaries to 25,000. The government has also increased the allowance under the Working Families Allowance Scheme. Starting from the month of application in April 2024, we will increase the rates of household and child allowance under the scheme by 15%, so as to benefit all recipient families, thereby further alleviating the burden of grassroots working families. For example, a four-person household with 2 eligible children can receive a monthly allowance of up to $4,830 after the 15% increase. Starting from the 2023-24 school year, the government launched the after-school care program. In the 2024-25 school year, the program will be extended to over 120 primary schools in 18 districts in Hong Kong, providing about 6,000 service places. And more schools will be encouraged to join it in the 2025-26 school years with no upper limit on the number of places. Now, in terms of family-friendly measures, starting from April 2025, the government will provide child care leave to government employees with children aged below 3 as a new family-friendly employment measures to support new families and create an environment conducive to parenting. This is in line with the government policy of encouraging childbirth. Under the new measure, all serving civil servants will be eligible to apply for 3 days of childcare leave per year for each child under the age of 3. The government has extended the statutory maternity leave from 10 weeks to 14 weeks in 2020. In drawing up the proposal, we have made reference to the standards recommended by the International Labour Organization, the practices and welfare systems in other economies, and the experience in enforcing the provisions relating to maternity protection under the Employment Ordinance. The existing arrangements for maternity leave and the rates of maternity leave pay in Hong Kong are already higher than those stipulated in international labor conventions and compare favorably with those in other countries and places. With regard to the various proposals put forward by the members on maternity protection, the government will continue to review and progressively improve the rights and benefits of workers while striking a balance between the interests of employers and employees. The government will continue to encourage employers to provide their employees with benefits that are better than those required by law. The government will continue to promote the adoption of good management practices and family-friendly employment practices by employers through various publicity and promotional activities, including the Good Employer Charter, including allowing flexible arrangements, granting special leave to cater for the family needs of employees, and providing support for employees' family life, etc., so as to enable employees to cater for their family needs at the same time. The Labor Department launched the third Good Employer Charter 2024. With nearly 1,600 organizations signing up, which is nearly 3 times as many as the first charter launched in 2018. In 2018, we had only 540 organizations participating. This reflects that many employers in Hong Kong are actually very supportive of good management practices and the implementation of family-friendly employment practices. The Home and Youth Affairs Bureau has all along been supporting the work of Family Council and promoting various publicity projects and activities to publicize the culture of caring for the family. In October 2024, a 5-year funding scheme on the promotion of family education with an annual provision of $8 million was launched to subsidize NGOs' family education projects. NGOs may have regard to the needs of the community apply for resources under the scheme to implement projects related to family building, new parents, and marriage. In terms of medical services, the government has all along been committed to supporting assisted reproductive services and encouraging healthy parenthood. At present, assisted reproduction services are provided in 9 public hospitals under the Hospital Authority. Among them, starting from 2024-25, the Hospital Authority is gradually increasing the number of IVF places in the form of publicly funded services from the original 1,100 places per year to 1,800 places per year by 2028-29 in phases. At the same time, it will enhance the training of relevant professionals. Apart from the public sector service, in order to alleviate the financial pressure that the members may face in receiving assisted reproduction services, the government will, starting from the year of assessment 2025, introduce a new tax deductions for expenses on assisted reproduction services under salaries tax and a tax under personal assessment, with a view to encouraging couples with difficulties in giving birth to seek medical assistance. At the same time, the Department of Health will re-engineer its maternal and child health and family planning services, providing new prenatal health services for women for childbearing age in phases. In addition, the Council on Human Reproductive Technology plans to abolish the statutory storage period for gametes and embryos for self-use within this year, so that members of the public can decide on the duration of storage in light of their own health and other conditions, thereby better realizing their reproductive autonomy. As Mrs. Regina Ip said yesterday, the Health Bureau tabled the relevant subsidiary legislation for reference. Now on housing. The Hong Kong Housing Authority has implemented the Families with Newborn Priority Scheme with effect from the 1st of April 2024, under which families applying for public rental housing with newborns aged 1 year or below, born or after the 25th of October 2023, will be granted a 1-year waiting time reduction. As at the June 2025, about 5,000 applications have had their waiting time shortened by 1 year, of which about 420 have been successfully allocated a PRH flats. As regards subsidized sale flat, the Housing Authority has implemented the Families with Newborn Allocation Priority Scheme starting from the sale of home ownership scheme flats 2024. A quota of about 40%, that is 2,900 flats of the new flats put up for sale under the HOS 2024 has been set aside for eligible applicants under the Families with Newborn Allocation Priority Scheme and the Priority Scheme for Families with Elderly Members to select flats on a priority basis. Family applicants with baby born on or after the 25th of October 2023 and with children aged below 3 as at the closing date of application are eligible. Education in Hong Kong is equal and diversified. The government provides 12-year free education through public sector schools, ensuring that there are sufficient places for eligible students to receive quality education in Hong Kong regardless of their backgrounds. We promote whole-person development through diversified support mechanisms to cater to individual differences. This advantage is evidenced by the outstanding performance of Hong Kong students in international research and assessment. Starting from school year 2017-18, the government implemented the kindergarten education scheme with the objectives of providing affordable and quality kindergarten education and enhancing the opportunities for school children to receive different modes of kindergarten education. At present, about 90% of half-day kindergarten classes are free, and tuition fees for whole-day kindergartens are kept low. Families with financial difficulties can apply for fee remission under the Kindergarten and Child Care Center Fee Remission Scheme. President, I'd like to once again thank the 36 members for their suggestions. The SAR government will continue to keep in view the implementation of various measures to encourage childbirth and review them in due course. Thank you.
I now call upon Ms. Nixie LAM to move an amendment. President, I move my amendment. I propose the question to you that Ms. Nixie LAM's amendment be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the amendment passed. Mr. Michael Look, as the previous amendment is passed, you may move your further amendment. President, I move my further amendment. Mr. Tommy Chung claims a division. The division bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
開始表決。
Please proceed to the vote. Please check your votes. If there are no questions, voting is closed. Please display the results. EC 38 present, 6 for, 3 against, 29 abstention. FC 48 present, 10 for, 9 against, 28 abstention. The question is not agreed by majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the amendment negative. Dr. Starry, President, I move that in the event of further divisions being claimed in respect of this motion or its amendment, this Council to proceed to each of such divisions immediately after the division bell has been rung for 1 minute. The question is whether Dr. Starry's motion be passed. Those in favor of the motion, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the motion passed. I order that in the event of further divisions being claimed in respect of the motion and the amendments, the Council will proceed to each of the divisions immediately after the division bell has been rung for 1 minute. Mr. Kenneth LEUNG, as previous amendment has been passed, please move your amendment. President, I move my amendment. The question is, I now put the question to you that Mr. Kenneth LEUNG's amendment be passed. For those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the amendment passed. Ms. Judy Chen, you still have 31 seconds to reply. The debate will come to a close. Ms. Judy Chen. I thank 35 members who have given their invaluable wisdoms. Members have spoken on various aspects, including housing, labor force, education, childcare services, healthcare, and tax allowance. Now, childbirth is a personal decision, but we really hope there will be more vibrancy injected to the economy. Thank you. I now put the question to you that Ms. Judy Chan's motion, as amended by Ms. Nixie LAM and Mr. Kenneth LEUNG, be passed. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the motion as amended passed.
立法